Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm here with Opie. He is an e-commerce expert. Specifically, I know he's incredible at Facebook ads, so I had to invite him to join us on the channel today. He took a brand from 50K last year to what's tracking for 2 million this year. We're going to hear a little bit about that as well. But Opie, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, as you said, my name is Opie, not Opey, like many call. But I've been like in the e-commerce space now for probably just a little over 5 years. Originally, I got into it because COVID hit. Everyone was staying at home, and I'm like, I need to figure out. I lost my job. We had a catering business out here in Los Angeles. No one wanted to share spoons after the whatever you can call it on YouTube, and we had to shut down that business. And then we had some capital left over to invest in something new. And I wanted to really dive into selling products online. Before that moment, during the pandemic, I was using Facebook and Twitter to sell tickets to in-person events in like a nightlife kind of club circuit, shows, venue, things like that. So I'm like, okay, well, if I can get someone off their couch, into their car, dressed up, and to a club spending money, could I make money selling something online, which is much less friction in terms of what the customer has to do to get the service or product delivered. So started diving into Facebook ads. Didn't have a brand to start with myself. So I reached out to some friends of mine from the club scene that had a little clothing brand, a little graphic t-shirt business. They were printing it in their garage, but it could very well have been on print on demand as well. And they were doing about $25,000 a month in sales. I told them I was speaking with a guru online who wanted $7,500 to join his mastermind workshop. They said, I'm not investing a dime in any of this stuff. These people are all liars on the internet. You don't make money. So I said, cool. Well, what if I invest my money, the $7,500, and if there's, if it's a loss, it doesn't work, that's fine. I'll eat the cost. No big deal. I'm sure I'll learn something out of it. But if it works, I'd love to have a part of the upside. So I joined the program in like April of 2019, 2020-ish. And we literally scaled the store from $2,600 a month averages up to $160 the first month, then to $220, then to $300, then to $400, which is pretty insane to do in a short period of time for some guy who literally just started selling e-commerce that same year.
Was this your buddy trying to having to fulfill these orders now with his little t-shirt press? Or
that's correct. Yes.
Oh my God.
So the reason why, everyone says it's very easy. Like the easiest part of e-commerce is getting sales. If you have a validated product, the easiest part is definitely getting the sales. Now, when you're running production yourself and it's not drop shipping or print on demand, the benefit of doing it yourself is you have way higher margin, but the difficulty is scaling. Right. So scaling from doing 100 t-shirts a week to 100 t-shirts a day is a major difference. And at the time, he actually had a manual screen press. So we got to 1.4 million in sales. So his best year was 240,000 in sales. The 9 months after I started, we did 1.4 million, and he did it all by hand press. So it was just like, it was insane. And then and my mentor, who I paid for the mentorship, he was like, hey man, how's the brand going after I left? I'm like, it's going well, but I have to turn off ads every couple of weeks because we're just getting so much volume of sales we can't keep up with. The last thing you want to do is have an unhappy customer, because that message radiates across the internet. Your comment section will be bombarded with people saying, I'm waiting for orders, I never got my order, customer support sucks, et cetera, et cetera. So instead of going that route of the greedy route, getting sales coming in, we're saying, let's just slow it down. Let's get back on track and let's figure out how to scale production, fulfillment, customer service before dialing up ad spend and keeping the train moving forward. Right. So my mentor said, great. Do you want to come coach for me? And I was like, coach for you? He's like, yeah, I'm trying to remove myself from the main coach in my workshop. And I'd love to have someone who's been through the program, had success, and has a general knowledge and talent for customer acquisition, the customer journey, validating products and such. So I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I spent about 18 months to actually, it was probably closer to like 22 months, almost 2 years coaching his clientele that all bought into this program. And, his number one ad at the time was actually an ad featuring me and my case study. And then they went to the program, hopped on a sales call, and I said, well, you know that guy Opie from the ads you clicked on? He's actually going to be the one teaching you now because he's now a new coach. So during that time, I got a crash course in Facebook ads from going from managing one brand's ad account all the way to, I think it was 300 brands that I helped coach. Half were in the info coaching space and the other half were in e-commerce selling physical goods. So I literally got like an MBA crash course, hands-on, experience with so many brands, and I got to see so many bottlenecks and so many problems. Something people don't really realize is like when I say customer service is a bottleneck, people don't realize the effect that has on the overall profits of a business. If I have a 3x or a 2x ROAS in my ads manager, but I have 1,000 emails that potentially has, let's say, 200 purchasers in there, that's all my profit just sitting there waiting for someone to respond in customer support. And if you're still sitting there with, 1,000 emails in your Gmail, that little red bubble says 1,000 plus, and you're freaking out, like there's money in your email. So putting systems in place, like we use Gorgeous now for customer support and support tickets, which is amazing.
Do you mind just kind of like, I didn't mean to cut you off because you're rolling. I don't want to lose anybody who's a beginner. Just like mainly just touch on what ROAS is and what that customer service solution was, because I'm loving this, by the way. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So essentially I bring up, ROAS is the return on ad spend. Very basic, right? So if you spend $10 to get a customer, that customer spends $30 on your stores. It's 30 divided by 10. That's a 3x ROAS. Now, when you get more advanced into the media buying world, media buying is basically just putting an ads in ads manager and sending it out to whoever you want to see those ads. That's media buying, right? All that stuff gets kind of, I would say, lost in the sauce. So like if you're talking to someone who knows how to run Facebook ads and they're focusing on growth of a business, they focus on CAC, customer acquisition cost, or NCAC, new customer acquisition cost, also known as a CPA, cost per acquisition, or Facebook calls it cost per purchase, CPP. So like there's like four describers of the same exact thing, but most people in the beginning focus on ROAS, which is money in versus money going out for the cost of a sale. Essentially, what you pay Facebook to get a sale divided by what the cart value of that sale was is your ROAS. So I bring up, customer support. I use Gorgeous now, but these are all things that are like for advanced people. And after doing this for so long and speaking with so many e-commerce entrepreneurs, whether it's on a print-on-demand model or a drop shipping model, or they're producing it themselves, they get so bogged down with, okay, what do I need for emails and SMSs? And then I need my flows. Flows are just a sequence of emails that go out on a date specific, or if they sign up for your newsletter, right? Like the progression of how many emails they get, what the email's context are, building that know, like, and trust factor with your brand before they will eventually make a purchase, hopefully. But all of that means absolutely nothing when you're going from 0 to 1. I was just talking to Ryan earlier about it's very easy to take a brand from $30,000 a month in sales to $150,000 or $200,000 in sales. That's because the product has already been validated and the brand is usually a niche brand. Niche brands, meaning it's going to one core audience. So for an example, there's like the camping niche, which everyone and their mom gets into, including myself in the beginning. My first print-on-demand store was in the camping space and hiking space, but that's a major competition. My newest store is in the pet space, personalized pet items for people. That's the one that did $220,000 in its first year. It's like a little Shopify ticker.
Love that. Yeah.
It's
I gotta
sweet.
get one for the Bitcoin price when we move, man. I gotta set up a new office soon.
Yeah, I love it. So I love this thing. Just keeps you on track and keeps you focused on top line revenues. But essentially, with Facebook ads, most people think that it's like, oh, the ads aren't working, but the reality of it is it's your product's not working in the beginning. So again, it's like starting from square one with Facebook ads. Don't get bombarded by 20 different gurus telling you to do 50 different strategies. You need to do a very simple, basic ads manager setup that will validate a product, right? So my process for like the beginner stage, again, I'm going back to the beginning thing because I don't want anyone getting all bombarded. You don't need an expensive theme. You don't need a copywriter. You don't need a funnel. You don't need post-purchase upsells, UGC. You don't need any of that stuff, especially print on demand, because most products you're going to be selling are, apparel, hats, t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, things like this. You're selling wall art. You're selling let me guess, most of your audiences are probably tried or have tried to sell the metal wall art, or like the lawn stake signs and things like that. Those products don't really have a benefit to them, right? Most gurus will say, oh, find out what the benefit to the product is. Focus on the benefits. What are the desires of your customer? It's like, bro, I like this t-shirt design. I'm going to buy it, right? It's not like makeup or a supplement that's going to alter my skin complexion or whatever it might be, right? It's like, I'm selling t-shirts and lawn signs, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
So when it comes down to, getting started, if you're at zero right now, have not started, it is very easy to do so. Most people will get tied up. The first question is, do I go with an Etsy store or do I go with a Shopify store? Right now, my philosophy behind Facebook ads and business in general is always break even on customer acquisition. Meaning, if I have a 10x ROAS and I'm like, oh, dude, I have a 10x ROAS, that's great. It means I'm not spending enough money. I want to spend enough money. How can I explain this the best? The more you spend, the lower your ROAS gets. If we're looking at that as a KPI, key performance indicator, right? So if I'm spending $100 a day on ad spend and have a 10x ROAS, when I increase that budget to 1,000, I'm not going to expect to keep the same 10x ROAS because the people I'm targeting are getting more broad and there's less buyers in that bunch. I'm still going to convert, but it's still a much broader audience, which is going to garner a lower click-through rate and then lower conversion rates, which increases your CPA, which will decrease your ROAS. That was a lot to follow, but essentially,
you got it. You got it. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry. You got it.
All that to say, when you spend more money on an ad, the ROAS will go down. We're looking at a volume gameplay here. So if my break-even ROAS, is a 2.2, right? If my break-even ROAS that I'm going for is a 2.2 and I have a 10x ROAS in testing, I want to increase my spend gradually by 20%, usually every 3 days until I reach my break-even. Now, let's just say I do, let's say I do $100,000 in sales for easy math, right? But I made no money. I literally broke even. I paid Printful, Printify. I paid my Shopify fees. I got, let's say my AOV is $50. So I got 500 customers, right? For that 100 grand, I got 500 customers. Made no money, broke even. But Opie, why am I doing this if I'm not making any money? Well, here's a little known fact for beginners. 20 to 30% of your audience will buy again. Now, what do I mean by that? And why do I bring that up? Is because niche stores are what you want to focus on. Because let's just say you're in the astrology niche, right? And you notice that your bestseller, you have one shirt for every, this is probably a bad niche. Let's go with dog breeds instead. So let's say you have 10 shirts. You got a golden retriever, cocker spaniel, Boston terrier, whatever, 10 different, one shirt for 10 different dogs. If I love my Boston terrier shirt, and I want to come back to your store because I love the quality, I love the design, I want to buy more, but you only have one Boston Terrier shirt and I only own one Boston Terrier, I can't buy anything else on your store because you don't have anything else for me. That's why the niche is super important. With that being said, back to the returning customer rate, right? We typically see between 20 to 30% returning customer rate month over month. So once you find a winning product and you're breaking even, right, then 30% of your customers, so of those 500 customers that I got, that equates to $100,000 in revenue, I'm going to get 100 of those people to 150 of them to come back and buy next month when I release a new product for said customer, right? So if you don't know what your niche is in the beginning, let's say you want to go into the dog niche and you pick up the top 12 breeds and you find that French Bulldogs are the number one selling breed. You need to focus on creating more products for French Bulldog owners because they've already bought from you before. And an existing customer is 5 times more likely to buy from your store on a new product release than a cold audience who's someone who has never seen you before, never heard of you before, never engaged with you in some way, and is seeing your product for the first time in their timeline, right? So that's why overall, in theory, if you can dial in on this, break even on customer acquisition, which means paying Facebook to get customers to buy stuff from your website. If you focus on that, you're going to have way more growth as opposed to someone who's like, I just want to make an extra $2,000 a month. I'm going to set these ads up for a 3.4x ROAS and never release a new product until this one just, fatigues in some way. So that's kind of the philosophy behind it. We jumped around to a bunch of different parts there. Is there anything you want me to focus in on more or?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that was great. And hopefully people's heads aren't spinning too much. Cause I mean, that was great. In touching on, I think kind of maybe a life cycle of maybe how you would launch a business and try to get some products established, scale them up. In terms of you've seen now, you've coached, you said, for multiple years, where are most people going wrong in terms of speaking to beginners, right? Maybe they've used Shopify before, but an average thing when you launch a Shopify store, the first thing people probably think of is this theme the right one? Or do I need to go find another theme? What are the common pitfalls that you're seeing?
Yeah. So I think number one question, even before, is it Shopify or is it Etsy? right? That's usually the first question. So Shopify is my go-to because Shopify allows you to own the customer. Meaning if I go on Etsy and I buy something, I'm an Etsy customer. If I go on Amazon and buy something, I'm an Amazon customer. And if you notice, if you click on an Amazon listing or an Etsy listing, it'll say similar products beneath it. So Amazon and Etsy are literally showing your competitors' products on your own product page. You don't want that. On top of that, if someone does buy from your Etsy or Amazon store, Etsy and Amazon get the email address, SMS, and the address. You don't get that information, so you can't retarget them for your future product releases or give them some sort of incentive to share your brand with their friends and things like that. Like Amazon does not want you putting cards in your packaging saying, hey, leave us a review. That's against the terms. Etsy's the same way. So if you want to own your customers and actually grow a business where you own the website domain, you own all of your customer data, Shopify is the way to go for growth, okay? Like you do not want to play around with platforms like Etsy or an Amazon FBA model or fulfilled by Amazon, right? So I would always go with Shopify if you're serious about this. Now, if you don't want to get into the ad stuff, you don't want to drive your own traffic, you just want to like create some cute stuff and put it on Etsy, that's fine. You can definitely validate products from Etsy. But what I see is once people get to consistent $2,000 to $3,000 months with Etsy, they want to start a Shopify store and they go, well, I have 10,000 products on Etsy. How do I start with Shopify ads? Right. So it still comes down to the same step, no matter what platform you're on, and it's validating products. So again, that first store that I took from $25,000 a month to now over 300,000 on average per month, that was using the Brooklyn theme. Now the Brooklyn theme, if you're a newbie, you don't even know what that is because it's not around anymore. That was the debut theme of 7 years ago. So now all the new Shopify themes are based off of the Dawn theme or debut theme. And the brand I brought to 1.15 million this year, we'll touch more on that later, but they were still using the what theme was that? Dawn theme. So the theme does not matter in the beginning when you're validating. So do not get caught up on your theme, your layout, all that stuff. Do not get caught up on that. You need a basic product page. Another thing is product descriptions. Most people, for whatever reason, when they get into this, obviously you're trying to open a business and a lot of you don't have money right now. So you're listening to a guru tell you that you should go the SEO route. SEO is good for validated businesses that have validated products. Validated meaning they have sales. People want this and they're willing to spend their hard-earned dollars to get, to purchase your item. SEO, if you're going to take the time and really invest in 2, 3, 4 months of getting on that Google first page, your product, and it's driving traffic to a product that's not validated, it's going to take you 6 months to a year to validate a product that you can validate with Facebook ads and as little as $3 for a total spend of $15. So what's more important to you, $15 to test one product or waiting a year to do it for free, right? Time value equation there. So people don't really realize that you can start off with Facebook ads. I would say minimum $5 a day. That really depends on what your average order value is or your product price is. I'll get into that strategy a little bit later. But essentially, yeah, square one is your theme does not matter. Your product descriptions, if you're selling t-shirts and stuff, don't matter either. What matters the most is a customer making a informed buyer's decision, right? So if I'm going to buy something, what do I want to know, right? If it's a t-shirt, I want to see a size chart. Like men don't particularly use size charts a lot, but women love size charts because men are basically tall, short, skinny, or large, right? Women have all sorts of extra things on their bodies, right? That equate to height, chest size. If you're buying jeans, like a lot of women who have, a Nicki Minaj figure can't fit into a Levi's skinny jean because, you know what I'm saying? So size chart is super, super important when you're selling apparel. What else is an informed buying decision? We touched on this earlier, but what if I'm going, let's say me and my family are going to Cozumel for summer and I need a new swimsuit, right? Okay, my trip's in 2 weeks. So if this website wants me to make a purchase of a new swimsuit, they better tell me what's the expected shipping time to get it to me, right? So you want to have your shipping times on there, fulfillment times, production times. All of these are super important to the customer. Now, many people will try to game the system and say, oh, I don't want to say I'm drop shipping, or I don't want to mention my production times because they're over 2 weeks and things like this. That's fine. Just be transparent. Due to the volume of orders, we're seeing a delay in production and fulfillment. Please allow up to 3 weeks before receiving your product. That's usually a good deadline. 3 to 4 weeks is a way to get around like, hey, this product's coming from China if you're going the drop shipping model, or if you're using a print on demand supplier that's not based in the US. A lot of the all over print stuff you see out there is coming from China as well, right? So just be open and honest. So shipping times, production times, things like that, give them that information. If you don't have reviews yet, I highly suggest picking 5 to 10 people in your network currently that fit your avatar. Now, what is your avatar? That's your ideal, that's ICA, ideal customer avatar, is who you're buying, who you're creating a product for, or who you want your customer to be. Now, here's an example of a real easy way to kind of process this information. I'm 38 years old. If my mom described something at the store as being dope, I would look at her and laugh, right? That's language. My mom says, that's nifty. My mom says, Jiminy Crickets, right? I say, oh, F word. She says, Jiminy Crickets, right? So when it comes to the avatar, not only are you creating products for them, but you're writing your ad copy in a language that resonates with them. You're also creating all the copy on your website that resonates with them as well, right? So you want to make sure that you're speaking to your, not only creating products for a particular person, but you're also speaking the language that particular person resonates with in their day-to-day lives, okay? So let's just say you want to go into the national parks niche, right? I just had someone in my group, I was a small group, but they were having trouble getting their first sale. So I said, listen, you're going too off the cuff. You're trying to create something from scratch. You have no starting point. You want to make something around a national park, but you don't know where to start. Here's where the avatar comes into play. So if you notice, if you go out, let's say you go out to Yosemite National Park and you see the older people there, they're wearing very cheesy t-shirts, right? A 45 to 6-year-old woman does not wear the same t-shirt, even if it's a graphic t-shirt, as someone who's 25 to 35, who's in the same exact interest. They both love, let's just say Yosemite National Park, but their fashion senses are way different, okay? So, you know, what's popular right now, which I always tell people is a square one product to start with in the apparel space, is what's really popular. I go to urbanoutfitters.com. I see a lot of 90s vintage inspired hip hop bootleg t-shirts, right? Where it's like a juvenile and it's got Cash Money and all the photos, right? So I said, this is already trending in apparel, right? It's already trending. How can we apply this to your niche? Right. So she made this really cool design. It says like John Muir, who, if you don't know, John Muir is the founder of the National Parks Services, right? Him and Theodore Roosevelt. And it says John Muir. It's got a cool picture of him, Yosemite. And she got her first sale for $9 acquisition cost. Back to that CPA, right? So it's like, again, if you want to get into a particular niche, that's step one. Step one, pick your niche. It's best to get into a niche that you're also excited about or into yourself. So as an example, if you try to get into the skateboarding niche because you heard the skateboarding niche was profitable, but you don't know how to speak that language, you don't know what the styles and trends are, what they're wearing. Are they wearing like tank tops that are tight and form-fitting? Are they wearing t-shirts that are tailored, or are they wearing oversized baggy fit stuff? So like the more you know about your customer, the better you're going to be at creating products for said customer. So step one, pick your niche. Step two, pick your avatar. Again, your avatar is who in that niche you're trying to create a product for. And then 3 would be create products for that person based on what they're already buying in the marketplace. Another example, candles. Candles is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. However, 18 to 25-year-olds aren't really buying candles, right? So even if I knew there was someone in my niche, I'm selling to 25-year-old females that are into Yosemite National Park and I'm making candles, you're not going to get as much sales as if you created a product for a 45 and up year old woman who's also into that same national park. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, cool. So those are like the first 2 steps. And then obviously where you're going to find these people in terms of like the real world. So I live in Los Angeles now. So I literally walk outside and I see tons of concepts and ideas. I can start seeing patterns emerge. Like the bucket hats is a great example of that. Bucket hats picked up again about 3-4 years ago. They were popular when I was a kid. Again, I'm 38. So just following trends. Moms don't necessarily wear bucket hats as much, I would say, unless you're an Asian mom. Asians in LA are always wearing bucket hats. So they don't want anything to do with the sun. So again, this goes into play. So if I was creating let's say a clothing brand for Chinese New Year, this year is Year of the Dragon, I would want to create fashion for someone who's into Chinese astrology and mythology, and then cater the products I'm creating for the 18 to 25-year-old, the 25 to 40-year-old, or the 55 and up person. Tracking so far?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm thinking like how, like if I'm posting to Amazon, like, and I have like a winning design, I'll put it on like a baseball hat, snapback, bucket hat, a visor. But it's like, if you're on Shopify, and this is where I'm not really an expert, by the way. So it's like, when it comes to your targeting, it's like, obviously you probably can't show like 5 different types of hats with that design. You got to probably choose one. So are you trying to, I don't want to detract from what you were saying, but like, how does that factor into your targeting? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So targeting is when we're getting into the paid side of things, however, but the first step of targeting is, again, identifying your niche, and then avatar. And then third is creating products for said niche and avatar, right? So then what you want to do, if you're in the net, like for my pet brand, here's a great example. We don't own pets right now. We don't have any dogs. We have 2 kids, which are a whole other problem. But we, my wife's from Los Angeles. So we're like, hey, I have 5 friends that are, 25 to 28-year-old females that own dogs. They love their dogs. They're not in that level of life yet where they're, getting engaged and having kids and things like that. They're in their dog mom era, which is really popular right now, as an example. So again, we're not in this niche. We didn't want to go to the UGC and pay hundreds of dollars for some UGC content creator. We wanted real people that are like in our avatar. In this example, 25 to 30-year-old women who own dogs and they're in their dog mom era. We said, hey, what are you currently wearing? Show us some of your outfits. Oh, we're wearing the oversized tees and biker shorts. We're wearing bucket hats. No visors in that category yet, although that's probably a trend that we'll track in the next couple of years, just seeing how things come back into play. And we just said, hey, we're going to come over. We're going to throw our sweaters on you. We're going to throw our hats on you. We're going to take some pictures, some lifestyle images, right? So now we have our niche, our product. We created our product for our avatar. We found our avatar in our network. If you don't have friends that own dogs, in this example, you can go to a dog park. There's tons of people there with dogs, and say, hey, if I give you a free thing, will you take a photo of it real quick with your dog and give us a review? And most people say, yeah, sure, I'm getting a free t-shirt, right? So why not? Or whatever it is that you're selling to them. So when it comes to, I would say, the targeting side, one other benefit to having your friends or people in your network model the product for you is, again, back to what's most important on a product page. You'll see a lot of apparel brands say, the model you're seeing right now in this product photo is 5'7", 120 pounds, wearing a size medium. So take all those things into account. Don't just use them for their pretty faces and them wearing a shirt, right? Or a hat or whatever. Use that to educate your website visitors on sizing issues and, kind of help them, guide them with the missing information that you might not have presented in terms of like the size and fit. Because again, women are into oversized fits right now. A lot of women, at least this particular avatar I'm talking about, are into that oversized tee. They don't know if they want to get a large or a extra large. And that really depends on what style and fit they're looking for. So again, clarity there. When it comes to targeting on Facebook ads these days, I do not use any interests. I don't use any lookalikes. I don't use any retargeting of customer lists in terms of like an uploaded CSV file of all my past customers into Facebook. I strictly use broad. Now, broad targeting means all we're doing is age, gender, and location. So an example is I sell to the US, mainly US. This particular instance, I'm targeting females that own dogs. So I'm going to say target females in America that are between 18 to 35 years old. That's the only targeting that I manually input into the ad set level. Now you say, well, how is Facebook going to find my customer in 200 million people? How are they going to find it? Well, Facebook analyzes your creative meaning your static images or videos that you're using in the ad itself. It analyzes your headline, which is the bold text underneath an ad. And it also analyzes your primary text, which is the copy above the ad that you see. Now, most people, the studies have been done, it's like 85% of people, what stops them from scrolling is the creative itself, right? Which is the video or the static image or carousel. Then they read the headline. So the headline is very important in the factor because it's the second thing that someone sees. And then they read the copy. But that doesn't really equate to how the algorithm reads it. So when you're setting up your ad, primary text, headline, creative, also need to type in where you want to send traffic to, which is, I highly advise product pages. Do not send them to a homepage, because this just happened to me. I saw a carousel. I saw something I wanted to buy, click on it, went to the homepage. I had to do 27 clicks on this website just to find the product I wanted to buy. Extremely annoying. And it was from a major brand in the snowboarding niche. You can tell I'm already upset about it, still thinking about this, right?
It's so silly.
Anyways, send them to the product page, okay? But once that you type that URL in Facebook, you're going to notice on Shopify, you're going to get a lot of traffic from Ireland and some other countries. You're like, hey, I'm targeting the US. Why am I getting these? That's actually the bots, right? The crawlers for Facebook that are analyzing and scanning all of the text, all of the reviews, anything that lives on that product page. Facebook is reading it and analyzing it to figure out who is this, who needs to see this, who would this product mostly benefit, who would be most interested in this product, right? So again, when you're using broad targeting, you're really relying on your creative and your copy to tell a story to the algorithm to find more people that would, be interested in your product. So when it comes to targeting dog moms, if you have a picture, the same way I can type into ChatGPT, give me a picture of a 25-year-old blonde female on the beach holding her golden retriever. It happens in reverse of the algorithm. So if I post a picture of my friend who's a blonde, who's 25 years old on the beach with her dog in an image ad on the creative, and I just put it out to broad audience, I'm going to notice that it's showing the ad based on the impressions. The impressions are where Facebook is spending the money and like what group, male, female, and what age bracket, right? So you'll notice if there's a blonde on the beach with her dog in an ad sent to a broad audience, you're going to see that like 18 to 30-year-olds are the ones that are being served those ads the most, meaning those ads are appearing on their timeline, right? Versus if I have a 65-year-old salt and pepper or gray-haired man in an ad, no targeting, no headline, no primary text, just images, you're going to start seeing that Facebook is showing this ad to people that are over 55 years old and males. So that's how the algorithm the same way ChatGPT does it to create images. That's how Facebook's algorithm uses it to learn what you're trying to target with this particular ad. Hopefully that makes sense.
That's
so that's
amazing,
all
dude. I always wondered, so that's great that you're able to speak to that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing too is the copy. Most people, when they get started with selling online, it's like the perfect gift for so-and-so or calling all dog moms, right? Like you don't speak to someone like that in real life, right? We want to have short, quirky, cute stuff. If you're speaking to my audience, right, in the pet niche, you don't want it to be like overly salesy. You want it to really seem like it's something that like your friend just shot you a text, said, hey, look at this cool thing I saw on Amazon. I thought of you. Like that's kind of how you want to write copy. And you also want to include some keywords in there that allows the algorithm to pick up on it as well. So if you're targeting French Bulldog owners, I actually had a dog brand that I managed ads for. They sold little necklaces and they had like golden retrievers, Pomeranians, whatever. The best seller was French Bulldog. And I actually used the French Bulldog interest versus a broad, versus just broad age, gender, location. And broad actually performed better because, again, people who are in the French Bulldog niche might not have liked a French Bulldog page on Instagram or Facebook. So they're not going to be in that. Even though they're in it, they're not going to be in the actual populated interest-based targeting that Facebook provides, right? Because no one really likes pages anymore, I feel like. It was a thing back in the early days, but not anymore.
Dude, that's when last time I tried to set up Facebook ads, I was like, it was years ago. And I was just like, man, I'm like, these interests are not matching kind of like what I imagine my customer profile to be. And so I just kind of gave up. Like I haven't really spent much at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the obviously the biggest change. Then you also have things like CBOs, which is campaign budget optimization. Essentially in Ads Manager, you have campaigns, ad sets, and then ads, right? So a campaign holds your ad sets, and all the campaign really does is sets the campaign objective, meaning are you looking for sales? Do you want engagement? Do you want traffic? Do you want video views? Things like that. Then inside the campaign is the ad set, which allows you to do all the targeting. So you can do the age, gender, location targeting, as well as interest-based targeting. You can upload customer profiles and say, retarget these people in my email list that signed up for my newsletter, as an example. Or you can use lookalikes where you give it a seed audience. That could be, hey, analyze my 10,000 Instagram following and find more people like them, or analyze this CSV file of my newsletter signups or my past purchasers and create lookalikes off of them. That's kind of like the old school way. Broad does it all now. Okay. So then at the ad level is just where you upload your creative, which is essentially your headline, your creative itself, the primary text, and then where you want to send the traffic to. So those are like the three elements, the main elements. But now Facebook decided to roll things out as they always do. You have ASC campaigns, which are Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. You have Advantage Plus audiences, which are all pretty much broad, right? Like they're all catered to broad. Now, again, this is probably more advanced, but I typically teach people to start off with ABO ad sets, meaning ad set budget optimization. So let's say we're using a CBO, campaign budget optimization, and the budget's $100 a day. And there's 2 ad sets in that CBO, and each ad set has 1 ad. Now, if I do a CBO, it's not going to spend $50 in ad set 1, $50 in ad set 2. It's going to decide which is, I guess, it just decides. However it does it, it decides which one to spend more in. So you can't analyze the data one-to-one, because it's like, well, this one spent 75, this one spent 25. This one spent during 3 and 7 a.m. This one spent between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., right? So there's so much going on. So when it comes to getting started with ads, you need a simple, repeatable system that produces one-to-one data for the analysis phase, which is super important because, again, like quick tip, when you're starting off with ads, 1 ad, 1 new creative in 1 ad set to start tomorrow at 4 a.m., right? And then have a daily budget of 1/3 of your AOV. So what does that mean? If your product, let's say you're selling a $30 t-shirt, you want to test that t-shirt at $10 a day for 3 days to spend the entire AOV. If you get a sale, if you get a $30 t-shirt sale from $30 in ads, then you can optimize. Okay, well, what went wrong there? Is it my click-through rate? Do I need to increase my click-through rate to lower my cost per click? Or is my conversion rate of 0.5? And that's what the issue is. So the analysis and optimization that you need to be doing relies on one-to-one, apples-to-apples data comparison and analysis, right? You can't just, launch things and throw them at the wall and say, well, that one stuck the longest, let's keep rolling with this one. You can't do that when you're getting started with Facebook ads. So again, CBOs will spend your daily budget across the ad sets at whatever you want to. And ABO is an ad set budget optimization, meaning each ad set gets its own set daily spend, which it will spend that. And then if you have 1 ad set with 5 ads you're trying to test in it, again, all those ads are going to get a different spend of the total daily spend limit. So if you spend, let's say it's a $50 a day ad set, meaning you set the budget at $50 and there's 5 ads in there, each ad is not going to get $10 in spend, meaning you can't analyze them the same way because who knows when they started, what time of day they were being spent to, what segment of the audience they was being sent to. So you really want to drill it down to 1 ad per ad set, same budget, same start time, same end time. So you can say, okay, these all ran from 4 a.m. Wednesday to 4 a.m. Saturday, right? They all got the same exact amount of spend. They were spending equally throughout the entire day. And then you can analyze for performance. First step of performance, if you're not getting sales, is going to be your click-through rates, right? I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but essentially, and your main focus in the beginning is just getting sales that are lower than your product cost, which is why we use the product price divided by 3 is the easiest way to do that. If you are selling like $120 canvas, you don't need to spend $120 to test that. Set your break-even, ROAS goal or break-even CAC for customer acquisition cost at, let's say if it's 120, let's call it $40. That's like 1/3 of it. You could spend $40, and if you get a sale in 3 days, then we could say that's a validated product. I feel like I'm getting in the weeds here. My remarkable.
No. I mean, you're speaking my language. I'm still following, man. Like, by the way, Opie has a YouTube channel. First link in the description. I know you put out a lot of good content about this. So if anybody wants to go and kind of learn from you, is that a good place to start?
Yeah, for sure. I got a ton. My entire creative testing process is on there, and as well as how to scale. So everything you need to get started is on my Facebook. There's also links in the descriptions. I'm very new to the YouTube thing, but there's links in the description to a free course on getting started with ads using only 3 campaigns: your creative testing campaign, your Rolodex campaign, which is where you store ads, and then your scaling campaigns. It's exactly what I do and have done this year to scale a brand from $50,000 in sales last year to we're at 1.15 million this year so far, using the exact thing I'm giving you for free. Just get started there.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
YouTube channel.
I wanted to ask, since a lot of us are POD sellers, and if you guys are still with us, make sure to thank Opie for being here in the comments. If you're liking it so far, hit the like button, all the good stuff. And check out his YouTube channel, of course. If we're doing POD, right? And you just talked about how like we could have multiple ad sets, like one ad in multiple ad sets, theoretically. $30 t-shirt. Or what I wanted to ask basically is like, let's say we're selling the Bigfoot niche, right? And we have like 5 different designs. Like, how would we go about testing that? Is that like a decent example, right? Like we might have like 5 different variations of designs in that niche, and we just want to test and see if we can make it work. Like, would we just go launch like 5 different campaigns with one different ad set in each campaign for Bigfoot, or one campaign just called Bigfoot, 5 ad sets, one for each?
Yeah, great question. So one campaign will be your creative testing campaign, and then you'll have 5 ad sets, one ad set for each one of those ads, and then one creative or ad in each one of those ad sets. And you'll start them all, schedule them to start tomorrow at 4 a.m. We do that because a lot of times people are doom scrolling between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. They're not really buying a lot. Some are buying, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to blow out your entire $10 a day ad spend before 6 a.m. when normal people wake up and start their days, right? So
productive people that spend money.
Right. You want to pace it out there. So yeah, essentially you just load up the creatives in your ads manager, create 5 different ads. What I would probably do is keep it very simple in the beginning. For the headline, don't overthink it like, oh, 20% off. The other thing, don't do discounts in the beginning. I don't care what anyone says. Don't do that. Like, you don't need to do that. At least don't do it. But I would say headline, all it needs to be is the product name. So Bigfoot Tee, Bigfoot crew neck, Bigfoot escapes, right? Like, just literally put that in the headline. It's a keyword of Bigfoot that is going to allow the algorithm to pick up on that and find Bigfoot lovers as an example. And then keep the primary text the same across all 5 ads. So it's just like, oh, did you hear that noise? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Oh no, it's Bigfoot. Again, something funny, something quirky, not like the best t-shirt for Bigfoot fans. Like, that's just not what people want. They want to be heard by the brand, right? So create some copy, use the same headline and primary text for all 5 of those ads, because then all you're doing is isolating. What's the only difference? They got the same start time, same start date, same end date, same spend, right? The only variable difference we're testing is the creative itself. And if that creative is a lay flat of 5 different variations of this Bigfoot t-shirt, right? Bigfoot 1 through 5, then we know it wasn't the primary text or the headline that changed the performance of that ad. It was just the creative itself. And again, the creative is the most important thing, because no one's stopping a scroll because they see a headline or a primary text. They're stopping it because the creative itself. So that's how I would do that. If it's a $30 t-shirt, I would set up each ad set for run at $10 a day for that 3-day period. So you're gonna end up spending $150 to test 5 products. There's a lower testing method where you can spend $150 over 6 days. In that case, you would just take your product price divided by 6 instead of divided by 3. But at the end of the day, you're still spending the same amount of money. You want to hit that product price threshold before you either say this product's a winner or it's a loser and you move on to the next one.
I love that. And am I missing the mark in your opinion by, like, I guess, like, what's your thoughts on like testing like a different color t-shirt for, or like, should we, if we have the 5 design example, do we do what you said first? Feel like we have the winner, right? If there's only one, we just roll with the best one. Then do we split it into like testing red t-shirt, white t-shirt, black t-shirt, or like person wearing t-shirt as one mock-up, and then separate ad set, or I don't know if it's in one ad set, separate ad, like person wearing it versus flat mock-up. You see what I'm saying? Do we get into there?
Yeah. So essentially, everyone really starts off, if you have lifestyle photos, meaning you ordered a sample, gave it to a friend, or you're wearing it yourself, those will traditionally work better than like a lay flat you bought on Etsy or some sort of template, right? But every single ad that you create, like let's say, okay, of the first Bigfoot 1 through 5, Bigfoot number 2 took off, right? It had the highest click-through rate. So we'll take Bigfoot number 2 and we'll create 5 new variations of that, where now the creative is the same. Bigfoot number 2 creative is the same. Now we're playing with the headline and primary text variations to see if we can't beat the performance, increase click-through rate, which will then decrease the cost per click. So you want to be around, like, typically speaking, if you're selling something under $50, you want to be like the 50 to 75 cent range of a cost per click. And here's the thing, the lower your cost per click, if you can, let's say your cost per click is $1 and your CPA is $20, right? So $1 per click, and then it's $20 to get one of those clicks to convert, right? If I can get my cost per click to 50 cents and everything else stays the same in the customer journey in terms of, we can talk about that too, in terms of the first action, they click an ad, they go to your product page. Then what do they got to do? Add it to cart. Once it's added to cart, they got to initiate checkout. Once they initiate checkout, they got to enter in the details and actually purchase it, right? So if all those variables stay the same, and we went from a $1 cost per click and a $20 cost per purchase, or CAC or CPA, all mean the same thing, cost per acquisition, right? If we lower that to 50 cents, now my $20 CAC just turned into a $10 CAC, right? Which allows me to scale more. Now, you touched on print on demand, and the reason why I love print on demand for testing products, right? But the limitations are the margins. So if I'm, let's say my total cost for $20 for a t-shirt, I'm selling it for 30, right? I have $10 of leeway there. So any CPA over $10, I'm losing money, and I can't afford to do that for long, because you're in print on demand. You don't have a lot of money to waste, right? So how do I increase the margin of a validated product? Well, I can take my $20 COG for this t-shirt and bring it down to $6. How? I pick up the white pages. If you're old, go to Google Maps, type in screen printer, or type in DTF printer or DTG printer. Your neighbor. I have a neighbor. I'm in LA again. I have 1,000 people within 10 miles of me that all do DTF, direct to garment, which is the same process that print on demand uses, but your costs literally go from a $20 t-shirt, your cost, down to $5, $6, $7. And a lot of the times what I do is private print on demand now, where I work a deal with these people and say, hey, I'm going to give you 40 or 50 orders a day. What would you charge me to fulfill those orders? Right? Meaning they get the sales come to me, I forward it to them, they print it, they run it, they ship it to my customer, and I'm still operating as a print on demand business. But now instead of paying Printful or Printify $20 a t-shirt, my neighbor's doing it for $7 a t-shirt. So now my $10 break even CPA, right? My goal, my break even target CPA, $10. Now I have, what was that? $7 a shirt, $30. Now I have $23 to play around with. So now my break-even CPA went from $10 to $23, all by literally Googling and calling a neighbor. Right? Because here's the thing. Here's the trick. Now I'm in embroidery. Now I own a business, whatever. We do screen printing in-house for the brands that I work with. However, some of the newer brands we're testing out are some new client brands. They don't have that ability to say, I'm going to invest $100,000 in this screen printing machine, right? No, don't do that. Validate your product. And immediately, once it's validated, like most people say, oh, I'm getting sales, but it's not profitable. It's not profitable because your COGS are too high because you're using one of the mainstream print on demand suppliers where you can just go to your neighbor. And here's the kicker, right? Most small mom and pop screen shops, they rely on massive order quantity, right? So it's like one guy ordered 5,000 shirts. This restaurant ordered 500 shirts. This clothing brand ordered 10,000 shirts, right? That's how they make their money. So usually Monday through Thursday, they have a lot of downtime. They're still paying their employees to sit around and do nothing. They might as well be printing you a transfer sheet, pressing it onto a shirt or a hoodie and sending it to your customer. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're helping that business and you're also helping yourself, because it's like, they have staff there working on these large orders, but literally 2 to 3 days of the week, there's a lot of downtime. They're still paying for their staff. They're still paying for their printers. They're still paying for all that ink. They might as well be working with a local partner like yourself to do so. So if you have tried print on demand, and let's say you're selling $30 t-shirts, but there wasn't enough profit left over after ad spend, you can easily change that story for yourself by calling someone local to you. Or I get this question a lot of guys I talk to are in Canada, Mexico, or overseas somewhere. They want to sell to America. Just find somewhere in America. Los Angeles, again, there's tons of screen printers in the area. So you can literally find someone, even if you're not in the United States, or if you live in Nebraska and you can't find somebody, there's someone local meaning not like Printful, print on demand style.
Not custom ink.
Not custom ink, right? Not a sublimator, right? You know, there's tons of options available to you to lower your COGS, allowing you to spend more on ads to acquire customers.
I love that as a tip, man. Actually, the other day I was like going to buy gym equipment and I stumbled upon one of like the biggest printers in the Printify network. I was like, oh crap, you're local? Like they have multiple locations, but I'm going to go like head on over there and be like, hey, maybe we could work something out.
It's so easy now, man. Especially DTF is like on the rise. Back in the day, print on demand was all DTG, meaning direct to garment. Now there's direct to film, right? Direct to film is basically using the same inks for direct to garment, but they're putting it on a film, which then they heat press onto your shirt. Whereas direct to garment is you load the shirt in this printer and it sprays ink on it, and it's kind of bad quality, doesn't hold up as well. Right. DTS stands out. Is kind of like the new method. Like I went to Disney a couple months ago, and everything there is DTF now. They got it right. It doesn't feel vinyl-y, doesn't feel plasticky. It's really great. But it's so easy. Like, okay, another tip for people just getting started, you're not going to be the next Nike. You're not going to be the next Supreme, right? Those brands, here's the thing. Most Nike itself, the Nike model, they got into the running shoe, right? They basically created the entire running niche. No one was running like before Nike created the running shoe. If you don't know that, that's the truth, right? So they blew up in running shoe, and then they said, okay, we want to get into basketball now. What can we do? And then they signed Michael Jordan, and the rest is history, right? But then they wanted to get into golf. What do? Do they try to like create a new golf? No, they hired Tiger Woods. I want to get into skateboarding. They hired Bam Margera. So like once you build a product in one sector for one niche, you have money to invest in the top influencers. Like look at Prime. Prime would not have been able to do what Prime did without KSI and Logan Paul. Or is it the other Paul? Whatever. I don't follow that life, right? But you know what I'm saying? So it's like you guys are focused on, I want to be this next streetwear brand. And I have friends that own 7-figure streetwear brands that are sold in Zoomies and PacSun across America. Like I know those people, but you have to have an in to get there. Sell camping shirts to a girl who likes streetwear in the 25 to 35-year-old range, and you'll make money that you can then use to invest in your larger project. But square one, print on demand shouldn't be, I'm trying to create a streetwear product that you know is going to compete with Kanye's label or brand, right? It's not how it works.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to touch on that, man, it's like we're so blessed to live in the time that we do where like we don't need to be that big to make significant money. Like I tried to illustrate that. I published income reports for the first 5 years, by the way, starting from day one, just to show how unimpressive my sales were, but that I stuck with it. And it just snowballed over time to where it's like, now this is going to be like my 5th year in a row making 6-figure profits from print on demand. And it's like, I just show that, hey, like it can be done. Like if I'm doing it and now my time is being honestly spelt. Well, initially it was like working a day job and a second job, 6-figure profits. Now it's like, hey, like I do YouTube, I do other stuff, print on demand, still 6-figure profits. You know, that's what I love about it.
Absolutely. No, as a vehicle for beginners, print on demand is amazing. There's literally zero excuse to not making money right now as yourself. And I honestly, I won't get on a rant about college and all that stuff, but literally if you had an $80,000 investment, right? Instead of spending for college, let's say 50 grand for college, right? If you had 50 grand to spend testing $5 a day ads for 100 products, you'd make $1 million by the end of that $50,000 spend, guaranteed. Because every single time, again, if your testing sandbox allows for you to individually control every single variable, test things one-to-one, get really good data, and get feedback from the customer saying, okay, well, they weren't into this, but they're into this one. Let's make more designs like this, right? As long as you're in the process of putting a product out into the market, getting it in people's hands, getting feedback, and then iterating on that product, that's how we have the iPhone 16 now. The iPhone 1 was not ready to ship. It was boggy. It was like super slow. It was crashing all the time. The camera sucked, right? But over time, they got the iPhone 1. If Apple had never got the iPhone 1 into people's hands, the 16 would not exist because, again, it's iteration. When you're creating a product, again, like when I got into the clothing business, one me and my wife started in the pet space, there was some competitors out there selling well on Etsy. They were selling well on Facebook ads and Shopify. And I said, okay, these people it's a custom embroidery. You send in your pet photo, we embroider it on various items, right? These people charge $140. And it took them 4 weeks to deliver the 4 weeks just to deliver the artwork approval. And then after the artwork was approved, it took them 4 weeks to ship it to the customer. So 2 months they're waiting and charging $140. So most people will say, oh, this is selling well. I'm going to start an Etsy store or a Shopify store. I'm only going to charge $100. Right? And it's no, wrong way to think about it. What did I do? I charged $180 for what they were charging $140 for. And how did I add value in there? I used better garments. They were using Gildan. I was using independent. My turnaround time for my art team, I paid them more, but my turnaround time was 72 hours. Theirs was 4 weeks. And my shipping and fulfillment time, theirs was 2 to 3 weeks. Mine was 7 days after artwork approval. So I charged more because I got my artwork delivered to them sooner and the product delivered to their front door sooner. So I can charge more. Most people go, I'm going to get into this business. I'm going to charge 50% of what that guy's charging. Doesn't work that way. Why? Apple, the most expensive piece of plastic on the planet. And guess what? It's not better than Samsung. It's not. But why do I have it? Because my clients have it. My family has it. Now I have a daughter and I got to share all these photos. And the green bubbles is just, keeps me out of my friend groups. So again, go the opposite route. If you see something selling well, again, like the hip hop t-shirts, like, okay, just for example. Yeah. Like you could do astrology. I wish I could share my screen right now, but you could do like astrology stuff. Like there's so many things selling right now. Let's say, okay, I want to sell to let's say a 25 to 40-year-old woman. Then go online, type in, where do 25 to 40-year-olds shop? Nordstrom. They shop at Urban Outfitters if you're into that. If you're a professional and you go to an office job, you might wear some stuff from Zara, right? So it's like, once you know more about your customer, you can create a product for them. You increase the likelihood that someone's willing to buy your product as opposed to just making something for yourself that you like or you think is cute. It's like, well, that's not how this world really works, right? You need to have some sort of validation before you put too much effort into saying something does or does not work. Because it's like so many times people are like, oh, Facebook ads don't work. It's like, no one wants to buy your product because it's crap. Like, would you? And I say, did you order a sample of your product? No. So you didn't like your product enough to buy it from Printful for $15, but you want someone to buy it for $30? Does that make sense?
Right. In a niche where you might not even have expertise in. It's like, keep it simple. Like, don't try to sell to, like, you know what I mean? Just like maybe like carbon copy yourself and pick something that you like. Maybe just theoretically, right? That you bring expertise to where you can speak to the customers. Like, you know what I mean? And just like keep it simple and carve a niche out for yourself. Test, get out there. I love it, man. You got me hyped. I want to try this now.
Bingo. Here's the thing too. So your niche isn't too small. And niche saturation is a myth. It is a myth because guess what? Again, most businesses, if they're operating at the mindset of break even on customer acquisition and make money on returning customers, if my competitor wants a 7x ROAS and I get a 2x ROAS selling the same exact product, I can spend more a day. So at the end of the year, he has 500 customers, but I have 5,000 customers. He's out of business. I'm thriving and I'm growing year after year after year, right? So it's like, again, you want, here's a good story. One of the clients I worked with in the past, he sold dice for Dungeons and Dragons. Are you a Dungeons and Dragons player?
I've sold the dice shirts. All right. So I'm familiar, but I'm not a player.
Okay. So I didn't know this. I was like, Dungeons and Dragons, like I know they played it when I was a kid. It was kind of really popular. My brother played it, but I was never really into that world. I'm thinking this has to be a tiny, super, 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 super small niche of like role-playing character games, whatever, right? This is a brand out there doing $2 million a month. $2 million a month selling, and this is worldwide. I guess it's that big, but they're selling Dungeons and Dragons dice sets, custom boards, custom signs. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, what? You're selling what? Here's the other thing too. If you're thinking about print on demand, okay. I was in a group the other day and this woman said, okay, I've been coaching piano. I've been a piano instructor for 25 years. Okay. She's an expert in piano. I want to create a print on demand product because I can't coach anymore or I can't teach any more students because I only have 4 hours after school every day to teach students. I can only fit 4 students a day. That's 20 clients a week. I can't scale that, right? So I'm like, okay, interesting. What do you want to do for print on demand? Oh, I want to start everyone always camping. I want to start a camping niche store. And I'm like, how often do you go camping? She's like, I just really want to go camping. So I just, I think this will inspire me to go out there and go camping more. And I'm like, so you're an expert at piano. You've been instructing for 25 years and you want to start a camping thing that you've only been camping 3 times in your entire life. Have you ever thought about putting together a course on piano so you can scale that business? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I personally know a piano instructor online. I can't name names, but he does very well. Okay. He's in the 10 figures a year selling pre-made piano stuff. And if you want to talk about margins, the worst thing about print on demand using one of the big suppliers is the margin. They charge you too much to create one shirt, right? InfoSpace selling a course, you record it one time and you sell it forever. That's 99% profit margins there. right? So if you're already an expert in something else and you're like, or like maybe you're an expert storm prepper or doomsday prepper, and you want to start a doomsday t-shirt company, why don't you just package together what you learned and know and sell that as a PDF or a guide? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing this right now. I know how to sell e-commerce, but I was telling Ryan earlier, I can't sell more than 200,000 because I can't keep up with production. So what do? I'm talking to people like you. I have a course. I have a YouTube channel, right? It's like, it just continues to grow and grow, and you want to bolt on. It's called vertical integration. But essentially, if you're passionate about something like Dungeons and Dragons, I also know a guy who does $100,000 a month teaching people how to do handstands. Literally, how to do a handstand, right? Good friend of mine now. I would not have believed that 5 years ago if you told me there was someone out there doing 7 figures a year selling courses on how to do handstands. Right? So I don't care what your niche is, but pick something you're passionate about. Because if you go in there and start talking, if you're trying to sell to a fishing community, and again, fishing. Oh, I want to get into the fishing niche. There's freshwater, there's saltwater, there's big game fish like the marlin. There's like, what was popular in Florida, the snakeheads, right? Like, there's so many sub niches of like your main topic niche. You need to know how to talk to those people. So if I'm wearing a shirt for a bass, right? Let's say, this is a cool bass shirt. I made this shirt for people who fish for bass, and I show it. Let's say my product image is a guy on a sports fish off of Miami coast selling a bass t-shirt. They're gonna be like, you don't catch bass in the ocean, bro. Like, that's not where you catch bass. You're right. So it's like the disconnect. You don't know. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know. We're kind of all over the place. I apologize for that, but
no, it's good examples though. I appreciate it. You got a lot of coaching experience to speak to. It's obvious. So
it's just, it's just be passionate about it. It can be, if you're passionate about handstands, you can make money doing it. If you're passionate about Dungeons and Dragons, you can make money doing that. If you're passionate about fishing, you can make it. Just try to pick something you're familiar with. Photography. It can be anything you're passionate about. It could be like coding. There's like coding websites out there, like JavaScript and Python. There's like Python apparel brands out there that do very well. And most of you don't even know what Python is, even though there's something in the background on your computer right now running Python. You don't even know about it, right? So it's like, again, number one, pick a niche that you're probably at least familiar enough with to speak the language and the lingo and know what that niche wants. Then pick your avatar. You're going for a medium age, or a younger demographic. Then create products based off of that, based off of what that person's buying. Another big thing, real quick to end, in print on demand, you have, like, let's say the shoes, right? And someone's like, my kids would never wear those shoes. My kids would never wear shoes like that, right? It's like, okay, great. But your mom would. The grandma would wear shoes with like little books on it or whatever, or little, like books or shoes for teachers to take like a notepad design and throw it on some sneakers. Yeah, a 17-year-old kid who's into like pop culture is not going to wear that, but why not sell to like 55 and up people? They'll still wear that. That's why the disconnect, like kids or anyone under 35 who's like into Nike Air Jordans, right? They don't want the knockoff Air Jordans. They don't want the knockoff Crocs. They want the real thing. But the older demographic doesn't care, right? So it's like, that's why it's so important to pick your niche and avatar before you start looking at the product catalog. And another thing I see people do all the time is say, oh, I wish they did this. Stop wishing. There's tons of products available on print on demand websites that are sellable to every niche and every avatar. Focus on that. Don't focus on what the limitations are. Focus on just getting started. And again, every problem with print on demand, whether it's a fulfillment time issue, a COG issue, meaning your cost to buy one thing to ship it to your customer, colors, all that stuff, that's all fixable. Just try to sell a product, step one, and then you can figure out all the back end stuff. But you need to get that data first and validate products in a particular niche. So that's kind of my best advice I can give. Man.
It makes sense to me. Like, I've been at e-commerce for a while now, so I guess like the longer you've been in it, probably is easier to resonate, but it's clear you know what you're talking about, and like your delivery, like I said, resonates with me. I hope it resonates with other people. And even what you were just saying a second ago, I mean, I know that that's like even outside the scope of just Facebook ads, like you said, like vertical integration, just monetizing something you're passionate about, something that you bring expertise to. Hopefully somebody that's watching, like, that was what they needed to hear. Like you said, the piano coach that didn't think about recording a self-paced course that they can then scale with Facebook ads. I mean, dude, that person could be like a multimillionaire a year from now because they heard you recommend doing that. And they took actions. I just love that, man. That's time we're alive. We're living in that day and age, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm not a creative. Okay. So one more last advice, go on Fiverr. Stop trying to learn Canva. Don't learn Photoshop. Don't learn like if you can't do it, don't spend 6 months trying to figure out how to run Photoshop or Canva, right? Just Fiverr. It's $7 with tax. Pay someone. And what I like to do, I can show you one of my products I made for a camping niche if you want to see it real quick.
You got it on hand? Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, Fiverr, you can hire people. It used to be everything $5. Then they tacked on, $2 in fees. Now it's like $7, like he said, even though the website's still called Fiverr. But is this a Fiverr design?
These are both Fiverr designs. Yeah. So here's the idea behind it. My first thing ever, my first store ever, it's still up. It's IFL National Parks because IFL Science is really popular. So we grew this Instagram account to 75,000 people, followers, before we released any products. We released products and it failed, so I moved on. But I essentially love national parks, so I brought that up, and I talk crap about a lot of guys getting into the hiking niches because of this, right? But my goal was I loved vintage posters. I love like the Jimi Hendrix posters, old music festival posters, Woodstock, things like that. So I said, I want to have a Woodstock inspired vintage festival concert inspired canvas that features all the national parks. So I made this.
Very nice.
Right. So it says IFL National Parks at the top. It says America's Best Idea, which is the tagline. And then these are the top 10, right? These are the headliners of national parks, where it says Great Smoky Mountains, Grand Canyon, since 1872, which is the first one, 148 years in the making. And then all like the supporting acts on a regular concert poster will be on the sides. Here's all of the not so popular ones, right? And then again, we talk about John Muir, was the founder of the national parks. And he has like this, it says it's his quote. I'm not really sure, but everyone on the internet says it is. Here's another one. It says, into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. This is John Muir, and John Muir's first national park was Yosemite. So you got Yosemite in his beard right here. You got Half Dome and El Capitan, right? So again, it's like, okay, national parks are popular. I want to create products for people that like national parks, but also vintage concert posters. Not very good, but hey, you know what I mean? Like that's inspiration. So all I did was I went on Etsy. I found someone, I typed in concert posters, found one that was vintage. And I said, hey, here's my idea. Take all the lists of national parks and make them look like a concert poster. Got it done. And we were launched ads in 7 days. You know what I mean? So it's like, again, doesn't need to be perfect, but I paid, we made our money back on this. We did sell a good amount, but yeah, I paid, these were like $25 a piece. And I made that back with one sale. So if you can't do it, don't spend 6 months trying to learn Photoshop. Just go on Fiverr.
Nah, I love it, man. Thank you for the example too. That's awesome. And it definitely doesn't hurt to have a good design. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background, by the way. Got my own micro chihuahuas.
Nice.
Dude, that was great though. Thank you for spending this much time with me too. I'm sure you've definitely intrigued more than just me. So I'm going to be checking out your YouTube channel. Did you say you want to plug a course? Do you have a self-paced course for anybody that wants to learn?
See, this is how terrible I am at this right now. Yes, I'll send you the link to the course. It's actually just it's growhouse.io is the free course.
Got you. Okay, cool. I'll make sure to link to that in the description as well underneath your YouTube channel. Opie, man, that was great. Anything you want to leave us with? There you go. Perfect. You got the green screen point down too. You got to do it backwards somehow.
I was trying.
Yeah.
Anything to leave you with? It's possible. Get started. I was literally in nightlife. I got into catering. Now I'm doing stuff with print on demand. I'm making my own apparel. I manage right now currently 4 partner brands I'm actually a partner of, and I have dozens of clients in various niches and selling different things from supplements to apparel to handstand courses. Like it just, you know what I mean? It's all possible. And honestly, like if you're looking at a way to create passive income, this isn't as passive as, some other things out there, but I think the first step to getting to passive is to getting involved, getting in the nitty gritty and finding something that works, validate it. And then you can hire all the VAs, you can set up all the automations and all that stuff. But like, again, best thing to leave you with is pick a niche and pick the avatar that resonates with you most, just because like, when things don't work in the beginning, which they're not going to work in the beginning, right? Like I had to test 27 products to find my first winner. if I didn't love what I was doing and I wouldn't wear these shirts myself or hats myself, I would never have gotten to that one winner that changed my life forever. So, that's what I could leave you with. Just get started. I didn't know anything about this before COVID, and now I'm managing several 7-figure stores on our way to be an 8-figure store. So crazy stuff.
Absolutely, man. And like you were saying, it definitely beats going to college for 4 years just to get an entry-level job when you're done and $50,000 in debt, right?
I literally talked to MBAs. Like, I don't know. I didn't learn any of this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because, it is what it is. But yeah, anyone can get started. And it's really $5 today is like the lowest I would say on ads, but don't let any of that stuff hold you back. And if you are like, oh, I got $1,000 saved up, I'm going to like start this thing. Like, figure out your income, get that job, hustle, work on the weekends, do whatever you got to do, wash some cars, mow some lawns, like legit mow some lawns, dude. Like, I know lawnmowers that make 7 figures a year too. They have a massive team. So it's like, just generate some income and then reinvest that income into more income creating opportunities. Don't spend it on the new Jordan, the new iPhone, or any of that crap. That does not matter. Just focus on, building something of value that people want to buy, and you'll do fine. You'll be on a thing like this in 3 years, probably. So just get started.
Yep, exactly. All right. It's been great, man. Thank you. Everybody check out his stuff. All links in the description. Opie, appreciate it, man.
Bye, y'all. Best of luck. Thanks for watching.